Pathological liar George Santos has been expelled from Congress for being a pathological liar, leaving only 434 pathological liars left still serving in Congress. Santos was the first congressman ever to be expelled without being convicted of a crime or treason. Speaking of criminals, Jamal Bowman remains in Congress despite pulling a fire alarm to delay a vote. And speaking of traitors, Eric Swalwell remains in Congress despite sleeping with a Chinese spy. What these people would have to do to be expelled? They would have to be Republicans. There were actually 105 Republicans who voted to expel Santos, proving once again that Republicans are more willing to go after each other than they are of going after Democrats. Speaking of going after your own, Pope Francis has punished CardinalBurke. The crime? CardinalBurke is a devout Catholic, and Pope Francis doesn't like that. The punishment? Taking away his home and salary. I wasn't even aware that they had apartments and salaries in the Holy Land. Not really sure how that works with the whole vow of poverty, but it seems CardinalBurke's vow of poverty is about to get more serious. Pope Francis is a tough landlord. In fact, the Pope has been extremely tough as of late, also firing Bishop Strickland for the crime of being too Catholic. At this point, it seems likely that Pope Francis might be serving as an FBI informant, having other Catholics arrested for the crime of being too Catholic. Doug Burgum has dropped out of the 2024 presidential race, leaving his millions and millions of supporters in despair. Burgum joins Mike Pence and Tim Scott in the list of Republican politicians who have realized they simply have no path to victory in the presidential primaries. All of the other Republicans trailing Trump by 50 points have no path to victory either, but apparently they haven't realized it yet. Deion Sanders has been named Sports Illustrated's Sportsman of the Year, despite the team having lost twice as many games as they won. Florida State has been snubbed from the 4-team college football playoffs despite being one of only 3 undefeated teams. Why exactly are they playing all of these games if the outcomes don't matter? Florida Senator Rick Scott has penned a letter demanding answers from the College Football Committee, proving things are so good in Florida that there are no real issues left to focus on. Thanks in part to Governor DeSantis, who recently debated Gavin Newsom over the direction of our nation. In the debate, Gavin Newsom gave Joe Biden an A rating on his job as president, which only makes sense when you consider that he's from California and they've lowered their academic standards so badly that reading at a first grade level can get you straight A's. Whether or not Joe can still read at a first grade level remains to be seen. Gavin Newsom is among only 37% of people who approve of Joe Biden. That means 37 people out of 100 for those of you from California who never learned percentages due to those lowered academic standards. Also among the 37% of people who approve of Joe Biden is Jimmy Carter, who is just glad that he's lived long enough to see a president who has done worse than him. The Daily Wire has called their new comedy about men competing in women's sports the most triggering movie of the year. Triggered by this, many triggered leftists flock to the internet to complain about the film and to claim that they aren't really triggered. They also claim that men competing in women's sports simply isn't happening in real life. And in real life news, 2 biological men have come in first and second place in an Illinois quote-unquote women's cycling event. The joke here is the man who came in second. Imagine transitioning gender in order to gain an unfair athletic advantage and then losing to another guy who did the same thing. Coming off the heels of LadyBallers, the Daily Wire has announced a new animated comedy series starring Adam Carolla, Roseanne Barr, and Danny Trejo. Many have observed that the comedy genre has been largely dead since the Obama administration. And it's fitting because the Daily Wire's efforts to keep the entire comedy genre alive one project at a time feels about as slow-moving and hopeless as a terminally ill patient enrolling in Obamacare for life support. So far, the Daily Wire's strategy is to make fun of topics that mainstream society is too afraid to make fun of. This will give the Daily Wire subject matter for years because this growing list includes transgender people, obese people, women, midgets, Native Americans, illegal immigrants, white people, black people, Asians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, the elderly, the disabled, the unemployed, and the claustrophobic, to name a few. Democrat Dick Durbin has blocked Marsha Blackburn's request to subpoena Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. I don't know why Democrat Dick Durbin doesn't want Epstein's clients brought to justice, but I do know the one thing that is agreed upon by transgender people, obese people, women, midgets, Native Americans, illegal immigrants, white people, black people, Asians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, the elderly, the disabled, the unemployed, and the claustrophobic is that we all want to see Epstein's clients brought to justice. Going after Epstein's clients would be the singular most unifying thing the government could do. But instead of going after them, we're kicking GeorgeSantos out of Congress. Please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to my Patreon to get my new mug. I'm DK Abel. Thanks for watching.